favored Thor all these years, because no matter how much you claim to love me...
They say spare the rod and spoil the child, but what if your child is a bloody superhero and no amount of beating would work on them? And what if the child grew up without parents to guide them and under the influence of someone evil, like Reverse Flash? These children are set to become evil supervillains who would stop at nothing to get what they want. But keep in mind that not all these children were born monsters. Some of them were simply the product of tragic circumstances, and others simply did not have their parents around during their formative years. At the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. In this video, we will explore the 13 extremely evil sons of good superheroes who made their fathers hang their heads in shame. Let's begin, shall we? But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Wolverine's son, Raze. What does one expect from the progeny of the lone wolf Wolverine and the cunning shapeshifter Mystique? A lot of great things, and that's irrespective of this progeny's allegiance to good or evil. Raze was the son born to Wolverine and Mystique on Earth 13729, which housed several other children, for instance, Charles Xavier II, the son of Mystique and Professor X, which makes Raze and Charles Xavier II half-brothers. Quite obviously, Raze Darkholme was highly unstable as a person and defied everything his father ever stood for. As far as his powers are concerned, he got his father's claws and ability to heal quickly, while from Mystique he got the shape-shifting abilities. But Raze's volatile mind forced him to kill Mystique, his very mother, so that he could replace her and live her life. However, the reasons for this matricide are unknown, but Raze would go on to do things far worse than this. When Charles Xavier formed his own version of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, he mind-controlled mutants to serve him. However, Raze joined the Brotherhood out of his free will and was the only mutant who was not controlled by Charles Xavier II. Raze was instrumental in drawing plans for the Brotherhood to defeat the X-Men. Later in the 2014 comic X-Men No More Humans, Raze served as the mastermind of an elaborate plan that removed all humans from the face of the Earth. Not only did the regular humans disappear, but even heroes like the Avengers were also nowhere to be found. Raze wanted Earth to serve as a paradise for all the persecuted mutants from all the universes. Fortunately, the plan was thwarted by Phoenix from one of the universes. So to sum it up, Raze was a mother killer, someone who willingly joined an evil faction. He tried to destroy the X-Men, and although temporary, he caused the annihilation of the human race. That's nothing Mystique or Wolverine.
It's going to be alright, son.
Commissioner Gordon's son, James Gordon Jr. During a 2015 event of the DC Universe called Endgame, Batman was once again missing and presumed dead, but Gotham still needed its Dark Knight. So James Gordon, the Commissioner of Police, rose up to the task and wore the cowl and cape. Interestingly, this transformation was supported by the Gotham City Police Department, but no good deed goes unpunished, right? So Gordon becomes Batman and his firstborn child, Barbara, becomes Batgirl. But the good old James Gordon has another child, a son named James Gordon Jr., who becomes as unhinged and demented as his father was sane and righteous. In Joker Volume 2, Joker kidnapped James Jr.'s father and crippled Barbara. From that moment onwards, the young boy became obsessed with the Joker and his machinations. While at Arkham, because of his mental state and the charge of causing his sister's paralysis, James met Cherise Carnes, aka Nightfall, and became her follower, believing in her theory that Gotham needed to bathe in blood to make way for a bright and beautiful future. But James didn't stop there. He even deceived his sister to come to a place where the Joker was waiting to capture her. In order to save his mother, he happily traded his sister, but Barbara hit him with a batarang, and he seemingly fell to his death. But James didn't die, and later came to the surface when Amanda Waller recruited him to serve as a member of the Suicide Squad, and he became the analyst for the team. Things became worse for Gordon Jr. when he developed the split personality disorder to become a murderous psychopath who targeted redheads. His hatred for these women was rooted in his jealousy of his own sister. However, his peaceful side wasn't aware of the berserker rage and the other personality that his mind housed. In fact, he even helped Barbara with the clues that would help in catching the killer. In the end, when he learned about the things he had done, he jumped to his death from a lighthouse. Although James Gordon Jr. wasn't the son that his father would have wanted, James had some humanity in him, or else he wouldn't have punished himself for the horrific acts he had committed. Captain America's son, Red Skull from Earth 1610. Before Captain America went under the ice, the man had become the chocolate boy for women across America, and the charm of his new uniform was probably most effective on his young and beautiful fiancée, Gail Richards. She had been with him since the time he wasn't the hero he was chosen to become. One day in 1945, he came back to Brooklyn on a one-day leave and met the pretty Miss Gale. One thing led to another, and the superhero ended up giving Miss Gale a night she would not forget for all the right and wrong reasons. 4 months after that encounter, Gale learned that she was pregnant with Cap's child, who was due that spring. But this was an illegitimate child, and the late Captain America's reputation had to be protected. After all, the world believed that he had laid down his life for the country. So the authorities decided that the best course of action would be moving Gale to a safe house where she would stay until an appropriate family was selected for the adoption of her child. But they lied to Gale, as the kid was never sent to an all-American family, and instead he was kept in a secret facility where he grew up among scientists and soldiers. So Steve Rogers was their one big success, and with him under the ice, the young boy came to them as a second chance to create a super soldier. In the initial years, the young boy grew up to be a real sweetheart who was also a tactical genius with a passion for learning. Of course, he had his father's powers and abilities, but the young boy outclasses Captain America himself. He spent 17 years in the facility without even talking about escaping, and loved being surrounded and monitored by the psychologists and physiologists. However, this was all part of his tactical plan. Once he was sure that he was strong enough and big enough to escape, he massacred the entire facility. To walk out of there, the 17-year-old killed 247 people, but it wasn't the soldiers whom he knifed and gutted and bludgeoned. He used a knife to flay his facial skin to get himself a new face, a face that replaced one that his father had given him. Therefore, the world knew this boy as Red Skull. From that point on, Red Skull committed several heinous acts, such as the assassination of President Kennedy, the murder of Red Wasp's husband and infant child, the training of terrorists and other hostiles, and he even participated in the Vietnam War. But he stopped serving as a super assassin when he learned about the cosmic cube of Reed Richards. He stole the cube with the intentions of going back in time to prevent Captain America from getting buried under the ice. However, his methods were too violent, and it was Captain America who killed Red Skull by dropping a jet at the very place Red Skull was standing. Venom's son, Carnage. Cletus Cassidy was a notorious cannibalistic psychopath who personally believed that law and morality are meaningless social constructs. The nihilist serial killer had been sentenced to a total of 11 consecutive terms, but the opportunity for an early escape presented itself in the form of the new cellmate Eddie Brock, who was once a host of the Venom symbiote. Cletus wanted Eddie to believe in his idea of nihilism, anarchy, and sadism, but Eddie felt disgusted with such a shrewd and terrible worldview. After many failed attempts to convert Eddie, Cletus decided to kill him, but the venomous symbiote came to Eddie and bonded with him, thus ensuring Eddie's escape. However, Venom was pregnant at this point and left a spawn in the prison cell, which bonded with Cletus to turn him into Carnage, one of the most ruthless and murderous Marvel characters. Carnage was quick enough to master the symbiote, who turned out to be more gullible and submissive than its parent, Venom. Even before the symbiote had bonded with him, Cassidy had an insatiable bloodlust and saw murder as an art form that should be cultivated. This only became worse after he turned into Carnage, to the point that he started torturing and killing his own allies. I suppose the 2021 film Venom, Let There Be Carnage pretty much explains just how different Carnage is from its progenitor Venom. While Venom may be an anti-hero who loves to eat the brains of bad guys, Carnage knows no bounds when it comes to committing acts that give more meaning to its name. Wolverine's son, Daken. Wolverine has got numerous children spread across the Marvel universe, and one can't really blame him. I mean, chicks dig his claws. Nevertheless, in the year 1946, Wolverine was living in a remote Japanese town with his local wife, Itsu. But all hell broke loose when a supervillain named Romulus sent the Winter Soldier to attack and kill Itsu. After her death, someone mysteriously slashed Itsu's belly to extract Daken, who survived because of the enhanced healing factor acquired from Wolverine's genes. The child is then placed before the door of a wealthy and simple Japanese couple, Akihira and Natsumi. The couple had been trying to have a baby for quite some time now, and Dakin came as bliss. They adopted the child and named him Akiro, but because of his mixed race, the servants of the household and other locals started calling him Dakin, which was Japanese for a bastard dog or mongrel. Over the years, Dakin grows into a cold and evil young man who hates everyone except his adoptive father. When his parents finally have a child, Dakin learns that he wouldn't be loved anymore and kills the infant child. Akihira disowns Dakin, who goes on to kill Natsumi, his mother. Dakin is then taken in and trained by Romulus, who worsens Dakin's mental state with harsh and sadistic training. For instance, he kills one man simply for his passport and poisons another woman so that there could be no loose ends. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the horrible things Dakin has done. And of course, he always wanted to kill Wolverine. In fact, in one of the story arcs, he slashed Wolverine's belly and left him bleeding because Dakin thought it was something of a poetic justice dedicated to his mother, Itsu, who suffered a similar fate. Odin's son, Loki. So we all know that Thor's full name is Thor Odinson, but what's the deal with Loki, the adopted son of Odin the All-Father? Well, Loki is actually the son of the king of the giants of Jotunheim, which makes his son Loki Laufeyson. But how did Loki become Odin's son? Well, a future version of the gods of mischief ensured that Odin's father Bor died while calling out Odin's name for help. However, Odin was made to ignore these pleas. Soon, this future Loki started haunting Odin in the form of Bor's ghost, and told him that the only way to lift the curse was through adopting the son of a king that Odin would kill. Odin subsequently defeated and killed Laufey, and Loki came running to his father's corpse to shed crocodile tears. Naturally, Odin was overwhelmed with feelings such as pride, honor, duty, and guilt when he adopted Loki to raise him as his own, alongside Thor. Now, I agree that Odin himself is no saint, but Loki is far worse. I think simply calling him the god of mischief or an expert liar is a gross oversimplification of who he really is. He never shies away from manipulating and deceiving those he loves from his personal gain and ambitions, but I must admit that he is often driven by his love for Thor and desire to redeem his criminal past, and in this quest he often takes up a devilish course. Obsessed with becoming a ruler who will serve a glorious purpose, Loki goes to far-fetched extents, like trying to take over Earth by force. But then again, this was the action that resulted in the creation of the Avengers, the first ever superhero team. I wouldn't say that he loves being or wants to be a cruel or sadistic despot, but he does the things he does to create an illusion that he's all-powerful. Barry Allen's children's tornado twins. In the 2017 comic Flash issue 26, Eobard Thwain, or Reverse Flash, takes Iris West and Barry Allen to a possible alternate future where everything that was happening is grim and dark. In this dark future, Barry and Iris see that their twin children, also called tornado twins, have become evil. They are usually considered superheroes in the main timeline, so this change came as a shock to their parents. It turns out that Dawn and Dawn Allen become evil because they grew up without their parents and had no one to guide them into becoming better human beings. In fact, they were raised and groomed by Reverse Flash, who taught them to use their powers for evil purposes and made the twins hate their real father, Barry. But our Scarlet Speedster is a good guy, right? So why did he abandon his own children? Well, at some point in time, Barry decided to take a break from his superhero activities and settle down with Iris in the 13th century. The kids were soon conceived, but Barry had to leave his family to fight the Anti-Monitor during the Crisis event of the DC Universe. He did what he could, but lost himself in the Speed Force only to return later. But this battle left the children bereft of their father, someone who could train them to become superheroes like he was. The effect was that the kids started to resent him. Furthermore, even after his return, Barry did not visit them once. Ultimately, Reverse Flash used a father's children as a weapon against him. Professor X's son, Legion. Legion was born as David Haller to Gabriel Haller, an Israeli diplomat who later became the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom. Once upon a time, Professor X and Gabriel engaged in an affair that left her pregnant, but she did not reveal this to Charles. She raised him with her husband, Daniel Shomron. But one day, a group of terrorists attacked the family, and David's stepfather was killed in the attack. The trauma manifested David's psionic abilities and other mutant powers, which David used to incinerate the brains of the terrorists. But a side effect of this was that he built a telepathic connection with each of his victims, experiencing their emotions and thoughts. The event left such a deep mark on David that his mental condition became unstable and he found himself in a catatonic state. To make things worse, David absorbed the very consciousness of Jamail Karami, the leader of the terrorists. This was the first time that David's personality had splintered. Moving forward, he had several different altered personalities that ranged from rebellious girls to miniature demons. In fact, one of these personalities even tried to kill all the others in a dreamscape world inside David's head. This place looked like a crazy blend between the cities of Paris and Beirut. I must admit that Legion, or David, is not inherently evil, but once an alter takes control of your mind, he can wreak immense havoc. Does it remind you of the character James McAvoy played in M. Night Shyamalan's Split? Which is a coincidence, because James also played the Professor in the MCU. Hulk's son, Hero Kala. While Hulk was on the planet called Sakaar, he married a local named Kyera, with whom he was going to have twin sons. However, an explosion nearly devastated all of Sakaar, but Kyera used her old power to shield her children from the impact. But they were submerged into the lava. Although Hero Kala's brother Sakaar survived the heat because of Hulk's physiology, Hero Kala survived by unintentionally using the old power, which is basically a version of limitless cosmic energy. But misery kept striking Hero Kala, who was enslaved not long after his birth and was constantly mocked and ridiculed for his weak physiology. At a later point in time, he was found by Axeman Bone, who made Hero Kala his personal guard. Hero Kala then began looking for his brother Scar to hunt him down and learned that Scar was on Earth. Interestingly, Hero Kala set the entire plot of Kai on a collision course with Earth, intending to destroy Earth and the old power that resided here. However, he was confronted by his father, the Hulk, who beat Hero Kala to a pulp, but couldn't gather the strength to kill his own son. Cable's son Genesis. It is no surprise that Cable himself had a tragic childhood. Born to Cyclops and a clone of Jean Grey, the child was infected by a terrible techno-organic virus and had to be sent into the future to be cured. The North America in this future Earth was ruled by Apocalypse, who wanted Cable to serve as another one of his vessels, but then he mistakenly adopted Cable's clone Strife. That's another storyline altogether. Anyway, Tyler Dayspring, or Genesis, was born far into the future around the 39th century. Apocalypse was killing anyone who refused to bow down to him, but once he was gone, a civil war broke out between the stakeholders. Amidst this, a warrior named Aaliyah gave birth to Tyler, who Cable raised as his own. Tyler soon developed mutant powers like telekinesis and telepathy, and he was able to project memories. He joined Cable's army, but after seeing his mother die during an attack by Strife, Tyler had a shift in personality. But more importantly, he was captured by Strife, who brainwashed the young boy. Tyler became Strife's minion. It wasn't before long that Cable and Tyler met each other once again, but Cable had to shoot his down to save some important secrets from reaching Strife, and this was the final nail in the coffin of the relationship between him and his father. After Apocalypse died, Tyler wanted the throne for himself, and to do this, he even envisioned the 4 horsemen that Apocalypse used to have. He wanted Wolverine to serve as one of the horsemen, and to give him his adamantium back, Tyler used flesh-eating insects on another being called Cyber. The Hulk's incest children. Both Hulk and Logan are known to have fathered a large number of children in the comics, but one story arc called the Old Man Logan Continuity saw one of the worst versions of Hulk. This Hulk was living in a future timeline where he ruled with an iron fist after his mind became warped due to continued exposure to gamma radiation. He was not at all the misunderstood hero that comics often portrayed him as. In fact, this guy was a sadistic despot. Nevertheless, a ruler needs an heir, right? But no one was strong enough to carry Hulk's babies, so he turned to the only woman who could. Yeah, his cousin, the She-Hulk. The two of them had a brood of babies together who later became Hulk's henchmen and enforcers. They would collectively be called the Hulk Gang and would torture and even kill people because they felt like it. In one such incident, they attacked Old Man Logan because he failed to pay his rent and ordered him to pay double the next month or lose his family. Logan left to find some money, but the Hulk Gang grew bored, and to occupy their time, they killed Logan's family anyway. When Logan returned, he was struck with shock and horror. Logan went and slaughtered the Hulk Gang one incestuous offspring after another, sparing only one member named Billy Bob Banner. Later, Hulk and Logan had a showdown, but the latter emerged victorious. I wouldn't really say that the Old Man Logan Hulk was ashamed of his children, or maybe he was because they lost. Abin-Sur's son, Amon-Sur. It's almost a staple for several superhero children to choose a path completely opposite to that of their parents, especially if their parents chose their duty over their family. Something similar happens with Amon-Sur, the son of Abin-Sur, Green Lantern, whose power ring goes to Hal Jordan after Abin-Sur's death. When Abin-Sur died in the line of duty, Amon-Sur felt abandoned by his father, so much so that he actually waged a war against the Green Lantern Corps. At first, the combined force of Kyle Rayner and a Guardian of the Universe named Liana defeated Amon-Sur, but he was yet to fight Hal Jordan, the man who became Abin-Sur's successor. Jordan easily defeated Amon-Sur, but the latter managed to escape after he got hold of a yellow power ring similar to that of Sinestro. In fact, Amon-Sur joined the Sinestro Corps and took control of Sector 2814, but when Sinestro Corps' menace increased, the Green Lanterns were allowed to kill the enemies. As soon as Amon-Sur learned about this new development, he fled the action after fearing for his life and safety, but a Green Lantern named Lyra killed Amon-Sur after he had slaughtered a civilian population. However, he was resurrected by the Black Lantern Corps. Hawkeye's daughter, Ashley Barton, from Earth 807128. So Ashley Barton was actually the daughter of Clint Barton and Tonya Parker, who was the daughter of Peter Parker. This makes Ashley the granddaughter of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and the daughter of Hawkeye. Introduced in the Old Man Logan story arc, Ashley grew up in a place, a wasteland rather, that was ruled with an iron fist by that Earth's Kingpin. However, Ashley was done with the atrocities of Kingpin and wanted an end to it all. So she attacked Kingpin in his hideout to defeat or kill him, but they all get captured or killed by Kingpin's thugs. Ashley would have been murdered too had it not been for her father, who came to rescue her, but Barton failed to see what his daughter had become. As soon as she got free, she killed Kingpin with a shotgun. And no, she didn't shoot the gun. This young girl decapitated Kingpin with the damned shotgun. Can you imagine the sheer strength it would take to pull off something like that? Nevertheless, Ashley became the new Kingpin. Seeing this, Barton fled the scene with the help of Old Man Logan, but Ashley sent her men after the duo. Eventually, she stopped hunting her father and everything criminal to embrace her legacy as a descendant of Spider-Man. She started calling herself Spider-Woman and was even called in by Superior Spider-Man of Prime Earth to defeat a supervillain named Karn, who was hunting down all the Spider people. So maybe Ashley wasn't that bad after all. This was our list of all the major superhero children who turned out to be elegant pain for their respective parents or their memories. But then again, I won't entirely blame all these children for their fate, because sometimes if a child becomes a spoiled brat, it's not the child's fault, but the fault of the parents. What do you think? And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.